Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Scoreboard. We're joined today by Dean Cline, founder over at League Assists, and Dean's going to be talking to us today about the launch of the Kelsey Plum Foundation. We're super excited about learning about how this foundation came to be, Dean's role in it, and we're going to dive a little bit into athlete advocacy and athlete foundations and really how those are built and what's the best model. So we thought Dean would be such a great resource to learn from because he's in the thick of it right now. Kelsey's foundation launched over the weekend with a big event in LA. So we're happy to welcome Dean to the show. Welcome, Dean.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about Kelsey and Kelsey Plum Foundation today. Yeah, I think going back in time, I got connected to Kelsey and her team about a year ago when she was on the Aces, and she was thinking about what her next move would be kind of through life and career. And as she settled in with the Sparks, she really felt like LA was home. And so her team got connected with League Assists and she said, let's do it. The time is now. And so a few months ago, we started building the foundation and yeah, here we are. I'm so glad we got to launch it over the weekend. It was awesome.
So tell us more about League Assists, Dean. What is that as an entity? Like, what's your role in the ecosystem of philanthropy and athletes?
So in 2020, I sought this idea of athlete and foundation through Renee Montgomery. DM'd Renee Montgomery when she said, I'm taking off the WNBA season for these social justice initiatives. She was raising money for an HBCU and she was helping get voters registered in inner city Atlanta, and then Atlanta voted, and then we all know the outcome of that. Yeah, and that was awesome. I saw someone who was willing to like kind of lay down their career for what they really cared about. She turned into being co-owner of The Dream, and that's a whole nother story. But I just saw the opportunity that athletes had for impact, and that kind of sparked my career. I jumped from grad school to working at a couple nonprofits, and then finally last year launching League Assist. And what I think League Assist is it operates as that project manager, that fractional ED, whatever you want to call it, the point of contact for an athlete's foundation. I believe that there needs to be someone in the room when you're talking about the agency and the brands and the team and the league that is advocating for the foundation. But it doesn't need to be someone full-time. Most of the athletes that I work with don't need full-time programming. They're not LeBron, they're not Steph, who have whole staffs and whole massive nonprofit entities, but they do want to do something. And so I think that there is an opportunity more on that fractional level to help develop the philanthropic ethos of a player and then really kind of fine tune that in their local market or where they grew up. And that kind of just depends on what they care about. Every player, athlete, entertainer, a lot of them have charities. And I think it's my job to help make those be more philanthropic in nature by collaborating and through partnerships and being what you're really good at, which is being a name and a face and a brand who cares about something and can deploy that to the nonprofit space. We already know there's 1,000 nonprofits on the ground doing great work. So it's how do we partner all those together?
Yeah, well, it sounds like a real collaborative model where it's like where you're recognizing the role that an athlete has as having a platform and really being attention, being eyeballs, being brand sponsors, being they're essentially their network to an issue. With Kelsey's foundation, you've got access to sport and you got mental health. How did y'all land on those two?
So honestly, it was Kelsey. Kelsey reached out to her agency, and then her agency and Kelsey reached out to League Assist, and it was this is my story. This is what I care about because this is how I grew up, and I think just seeing girls continue to play and not drop out as time progresses. She wants to help increase numbers there by providing opportunity. And then big into the athlete mental space, just her being like a number one pick and her like facing adversity in her career and all sorts of things. I think that this is something that she cared about because she struggled with different things in mental health. And she wanted to take what she cared about and what she learned and pass that along to students that are up and coming. And she's been doing that for years with her different programs with Under Armour and the dog class with very elite, high level, like soon to be pro that are college athletes. But this is more deploying in LA. It's something she's cared about for a while and now is landing on something bigger.
So she's relatively new to LA in terms of her career. How did that deep love for that community influence how she decided to take the plan and the trajectory for the foundation?
Yeah, I think that it starts with her loving her time in Vegas, like multiple championships, multiple all-star appearances, and kind of being like part of I don't know, a small dynasty there in Vegas. I think as she sat back and thought about her career, like she was super excited to take on the challenge of being like the lead athlete on the team. And so moving to LA, which is like one of the biggest markets, and she's the top player on the top like women's sports team. It's like taking on that bigger challenge was something she was excited for. And then she was fully embraced in LA. And so I think that it was like reciprocal love kind of back and forth that kind of spurred that along. And I think that she's at a different point in her career and at a different point in her like mindset where she's super excited to double down on that impact and to really embrace LA as it's embraced her.
You talked about the, kind of the collaborative nature of kind of the model, not just for Kelsey's foundation, but for what you're building at League Assist and how you engage with athletes. How did y'all go about finding the organizations that you're going to partner with, like the programs around access and around mental health? What was that process like, Dean? How do you vet? How do you find, like, how do you form those relationships?
So I think it's using the player, well, in this case, Kelsey's network. She is an Under Armour athlete. She's on the LA Sparks. One of my first steps was, hey, Natalie White, who runs all the community impact for the Sparks, you are in market, you are on the ground, you know every nonprofit that operates in the space that we're trying to operate in. What's your advice? And then it's, hey, Under Armour, who partners with Good Sports, and Good Sports is a national nonprofit that does a lot of in-kind donations. It's, hey, you know this better than I do. You know this better than Kelsey does, better than her agency does. Where should we go from here? And how can we support existing nonprofits in that community? And so Heart of Los Angeles was one of those that popped up as far as thinking about an initial launch initiative for the foundation. And so it was really cool to get to work with their team, and their campus is beautiful. And it was a lot of fun to plan with them. I think that speaking to Under Armour and to the Sparks, we're still thinking about, and probably within the next quarter, being those more long-term partnerships in the community. I think we've had a lot of great conversations with different partners. When I was in LA, I was just doing meeting with executive director here or lead person there at this nonprofit of like, hey, how can we, as the Kelsey Plum Foundation, how can Kelsey deploy with your organization, and kind of finding the best fit? I think that what we're most excited about is now that the foundation is launched, we've had a lot more like people reach out and different opportunities that have come to hand compared to being, I guess, in secret the last 5 or 6 months or so. So yeah, I think that we're super excited to see what these more long-term programs look like. But what we want to do is not create anything, but Kelsey Plum Foundation, Boys and Girls Club, Heart of Los Angeles. Like, how do we collaborate with whatever that organization is? Athletes for Hope was a great partner on the launch event, and so we're looking at stuff with them more long term as well. And I know that your team works with them, so they're really great. And Dr. Mino was awesome when I got to meet him over the weekend, and so yeah, we'll see where that goes. But TBD.
It's such a great model. Like the reinventing of the wheel that happens in the nonprofit world sometimes amazes me, where it's like there are folks that are doing such good work, have good data to prove it, have the longitudinal impact data to say that this approach works. Yeah. This creates change. And then, but I think one of our missions is to help highlight those organizations that are doing good. Nonprofits typically aren't having they don't have the reach, right? They don't have the amplification. So even like the ones that are doing really good work, sometimes you don't even know about it. So I think it's such a great approach to say, listen, we're going to take a step back and we're going to go learn from this community about the people that are doing it well. And then we're going to partner with them instead of trying to like reinvent the wheel and come up with our own programming and have to staff that. Like, it just seems like not using the athlete's best asset, which is their platform. So is that the model that you're doing with League Assist across?
Yeah, no, thinking back like a more like theoretical like ideation of the nonprofit world, it's often nonprofits like fighting over grant money or like opportunity or like kind of like a little bit competing, and there's no consolidation like most of the time. It's like you think about the for-profit business structure of one company acquiring another company. That happens a lot less. So nonprofits are less willing to take risks. Yeah. Because they're worried about their funding and they're worried about those types of things when we should be worried about the impact. But on the other hand, there's so many good nonprofits that are doing that impact. And so the Kelsey Plum Foundation does not want to step in and try to do it better than someone that's been on the ground for 30 years. It's how can we go alongside that? And I think that's the core of League Assist as well. It's, okay, this is what you care about. This is why you care about it. Let's expand on that vision. And then let's use the brands you work with, the team you're at, the league you play for, and take all that and kind of supercharge a nonprofit in your community that's doing that work, or a few nonprofits, depending on kind of the initiative there. And that's what my model is for League Assist. Is help me take your vision and plug it into whatever that community is. It doesn't matter the initiative or the market, but it's what do you care about? I bet there's a nonprofit trying to work on
Hmm.
that in the community. I bet there's 10. Okay, let's vet them down. Let's figure out which one we want to work with. And then how do you take your team, your talent, and like your opportunity and kind of plug into that?
Where are you going then, Dean? Like where's League Assist going? So I mean, with Kelsey Plum Foundation, this is a big foundation, right? I mean, it's already got a ton of traction. Just over the weekend, you launched, right? And
Yeah.
you've already got a ton of traction. Where do you grow with League Assist?
So when I was a kid, I wanted to be an athlete, obviously. And then when I realized I wasn't going to be an athlete, I was thinking about the nonprofit space. And my like dream vision was to run an athlete's charity. I was like, I want to run the Steph Curry. I want to run Eat, Learn, Play. And now Chris and his team are already doing that. So I'm not going to be doing that. But I would love to land there. And then I ended up thinking about this model where it's like, okay, an athlete wants to give back with a couple key pillars like a programming a few times a year. They don't need someone full time. And so where I see League Assist right now, it's just a one-man show. But at some point I see managing, like being agency agnostic. It's like I'm working with this client at this agency, this client at this agency, this client at this agency. I see it as, having a team that you can deploy that knows this market well, knows the nonprofits that your foundation needs to connect with, has relationships with the brands, because talking sport and talking nonprofit are different, but being able to do both and kind of plug them together is important. And then honestly, I just see it continuing to grow. I see it as just kind of scaling up, helping athletes give back to the community in a much more strategic way than just a turkey drive or a coat drive. And although those things are cool, I think that there's a lot more impact that players can have. And so it's stepping into that space and really helping them do great work by using what they have to help those who are already doing really solid work on the ground.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, you mentioned right there, so there's the nonprofits, there's the sports angle, and then you were talking earlier also about the key component that a brand plays in all of this.
Yeah.
And thinking about Kelsey specifically, she has the existing relationship and sponsorship with Under Armour. What was that like in bringing this idea to them of what she wants to create? And how did that relationship change, evolve, grow with what you're building?
Yeah, so I think taking a step back, a lot of brands have different charitable like opportunities for their talent. It kind of is something that's baked into the game, but diving into Kelsey and Lynn on her team at Under Armour, they are super excited to say, hey, Kelsey, this is what you care about. We want in no matter what it is. And so they were an awesome like partner working with Good Sport, and as far as like fitting every student up with like full on kits and new plum berries and all of that. And then just kind of being operations support and working with another organization called Intersport, which is a lot of event coordination. So they were a key partner where I was thinking about the logistics of what is the mission? What do we care about? Why do we kind of the foundation strategy? They were helping a lot with the more like event coordination for that launch. And I think as they're not going to be a partner on every single initiative that Kelsey does, but I think that they are an advocate for Kelsey. And so they want to be in however they can support in whatever way makes sense for all sides. And it's more than just make sure Under Armour's logo's there. I think that actually like they would, even if it was in secret, they would still come out and support because they are a fan of Kelsey's. Yes,
That's
we
really
like having
fantastic.
the Under Armour logo in the background, but you can see just based on how their team operates and what they care about, like that they are fans of Kelsey and they want to support her however they can.
That's amazing. More brands need to follow that model.
Well, that's it. Like it's the we always talk about it, Amy, the three-legged stool, right? Like you got the organization doing the work, the program side, then you got the athlete providing the amplification, and oftentimes it's the brand, the sponsor needed to provide the financial capital, but also more reach and the sport culture aspect of it too. So such a powerful way that Kelsey is building, and Dean, the model that you're using at League Assist, I know this will continue to scale because it's the one that works, right? And it's also like it's just pragmatic and very Captain Obvious. Like let's use the assets the right way, and we can create and amplify more impact. I'm excited to that we've learned more, right? Like I think this is such a great way to kind of get a peek behind some of these things, because you see a launch and you're like, well, how does it actually happen? So we appreciate, Dean, you making some time for us. I know it's been a whirlwind schedule, flying,
Fun.
West Coast,
Yeah.
getting back late last night. So we appreciate you jumping on early this morning with us.
Yeah.
And where can people find more about you? Where should we be sending people?
Disclaimer, I'm going to make the plugs now. So if you want to tune us out, you can tune us out. No, I'm just kidding. Please keep listening. Yeah. So League Assists at those channels, League Assists with an S at the end. And then for Kelsey Plum, it's Kelsey Plum Foundation on Instagram, kelseyplumfoundation.org. Kelsey Plum FDN on X, because they wouldn't let me type it all out. It was too long. Just transparently. I think if you're a brand or a nonprofit, if you're a nonprofit in the LA community, or you're a brand that desires to like work with the Kelsey Plum Foundation, send an email to info@kelseyplumfoundation.org. You can fill out the contact form on her website. And then, if you are an athlete that is desiring to continue to operate like in the philanthropy space and you want to know more about League Assists, I would love to tap in.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dean, so much for joining us. I definitely will make sure we tag you in all those places and all those spots between Kelsey's Foundation and League Assist. Privileged that you joined us this morning. We're looking forward to more conversations as both of our organizations continue to grow and continue to amplify this purpose-driven, sports space. I think it's such a unique opportunity we're in right now as sports continues to occupy more mind share in society, that there's an opportunity to do some real good in this space, and folks like you, Dean, are helping that happen. So we appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. We'll be seeing each other soon.
Thanks, Dean.